My guest today is Jill Earthy, who is the CEO, Chief Executive Officer of Women's Entrepreneurs Center. We have been business associates for many, many years in Vancouver. And so welcome you to this podcast and thank you very much for taking time to do this.
It's wonderful to be here, Peter, and to see you again.
Well, tell us a little about Women's Enterprise Center. Tell us about exactly what it is, how did it become a reality, and your role as CEO, how did that come, and what is your main objectives?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Women's Enterprise Center just celebrated last year in 2020, its 25th year. So it was established in 1995 by the federal government through through Western economic diversification, when they acknowledged that women entrepreneurs had a different approach to building businesses, and that a women's enterprise center such as ours needed to be established to provide different types of support. So we provide mentorship, business advisory services. We have a loan fund offering financing up to $150,000 in the loan with reasonable terms. And we partner with other sources of funding as well, of course. But we're established as a provincial nonprofit organization. We have 3 offices across the province, with our head office in Kelowna and an office in Vancouver and Victoria, and a very passionate team of 30 ready and willing to support women entrepreneurs who are growing, who are starting, and who are looking to buy a business as well.
You said 30, you mean you have 30 people on your staff in this province?
That's correct. That's correct.
Are they all stationed in Vancouver, or all the Okanagan and the Prince George area? And
right across the province, yes.
Oh, the province, good.
Yes.
Yeah. And so what's your particular role to get those people doing the job you want them to do?
Yeah, I mean, so we are mission driven, right? Our purpose driven organization to recognize the unique needs of women entrepreneurs and to provide supports and resources to help them thrive, really. So, that's our mandate. So each of our team members bring different perspectives and lenses and experiences to the role. And our business advisors, most of them are entrepreneurs themselves or have been, right? So they have that perspective to provide to up and coming entrepreneurs. I think it's also important to note that we help businesses start, but we also help them grow. And we support organizations and businesses in rural communities as well as in the larger urban centers of the province.
So what is your impact on the community and the economy?
Yes, love that. Well, one of our impacts, of course, is creating jobs. So not just directly, but through the entrepreneurs that we fund and support. And, it's amazing because in the last 25 years, right, we've created over 3,100 jobs. Now, that's not including this past year, which of course has increased substantially as well. And we've provided over 72 million in direct and leveraged financing. So yeah, Peter, you asked what's the impact on the economy here in BC? Well, it's quite significant, right? We've calculated it at more than 2 billion in economic activity in BC. Now that's over the last 25 years, but that makes a difference.
Tell us, you must have some unusual companies, or tell us about some of the most unusual ones that you kind of wondered whether you should be funding them or not, and how they've done because you've backed them.
Yeah, well, and that's a great point, because we really look at a wide range of companies, right? So everything from, service sector businesses to a small bakery in a rural community to technology companies, right? That are enabling, the technologies of the future. But I think the critical piece there is that, we provide financing at a time when a lot of other lenders won't. So as a development lender, that's our mandate. And I think that's interesting because we can fill that gap and help those companies who may not necessarily survive get through that challenging time. We know in Canada that 65% of businesses don't survive past 5 years. 75% of the businesses that we fund do survive. And that also makes a significant difference, right? So our role is really to fill gaps, to come in at a time when others may not be able to provide support, to help kind of get those businesses to the next stage.
Can you, is it possible for you to share the kinds of dollars it requires to get a organization, a company off the ground and running, and Do you come back a second time? And can they come back a second time and ask for a little more money to help them?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have loans that are up to $50,000 that are unsecured, right? So that's a critical piece too, because sometimes in those early days, you don't have security or collateral to put against a loan, or you don't yet have that revenue traction. So that's a key stage. And then yes, we do up to $150,000, but because of that, we are able to leverage that with other funders. We also then we have a lot of entrepreneurs who pay back their loans. Our repayment rate is 96%.
Wow.
That is extraordinarily high and amazing because we can work with the entrepreneurs as their needs change. So yes, we do often, once a loan is paid back, we will, and they continue to grow, we will happily lend them more money down the line, or bring in other lenders, partners, and then, or help them get to that next stage. Maybe it's angel investment, maybe it's venture capital down the line too.
So is it up to 50,000? Would that be the limit?
Well, we have different loan programs. Our maximum is up to 150,000.
Okay, okay. And they don't have to repay that back, or they do have to
Oh, they
repay
do.
that?
It's a loan. It's a loan. It's a
Okay.
term loan. But the key difference is, as a development lender, we can work with the entrepreneurs. So, typically a loan term is 5 years. But sometimes things happen, right? Pandemics or a supplier issue or something happens. And so we can then work proactively with our clients to extend loan terms or offer some payment deferral or interest forgiveness in some cases. So we can work with them to find out what do they need and be flexible in the repayment options. And that's a big part, as you know, as an entrepreneur when you're growing a business.
So do you do some beyond the money that they might borrow? Do you do some other consulting for various companies, for organizations, in helping them to grow and develop other than just money?
Well, that is the critical piece, because we are an integrated, holistic organization. So the capital absolutely is a key piece, but combined with that, we offer mentorship. So both one-on-one mentorship, peer mentorship. We also offer business advisory services, to your point. So consulting that's offered by experienced business owners who are trained to provide that type of guidance. And so that is available all along the process, right? Not just when you're applying for a loan, but all the way through as you're continuing to grow your business. And then a lot of different educational programs and training programs. So that all of those elements wrapped together are really important.
Give us maybe not necessarily the name of the organization, but the size of an organization that has grown from a minute little 1 or 2 or 3 person to something larger. What would be the scale of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, over 25 years, you can imagine there's been quite a few of those, which is fantastic. And they're everything from product manufacturing companies to food and beverage. We see a lot of food and beverage companies growing. That's obviously also an increase, a sector that's increasing. I don't feel comfortable giving specific names, but we have definitely a wide range of companies who attribute that small amount of capital that they received at a critical time to that continued growth, right? Because then they're able to build that relationship with their banks and traditional lenders, and then continue to access different types of capital along each step of the way. And I think it's really important to note that women entrepreneurs tend to take a different path, right? And tend to grow more slowly, which is actually really great. It's just different than what traditional lenders look at usually, right? It's a different risk profile. So it's more sustained, steady growth. But in the early days before revenue is established, that's traditional lenders don't necessarily look at that as a valuable risk profile. So one of our missions is to shift that a little bit and look at, there are different paths to growth. There's no right or wrong way to do it, right? But we need to acknowledge the different ways that companies are growing and make sure that there are resources there to support those different paths.
How has this pandemic affected what you do?
Yeah. Well, the data is showing that women in general are being disproportionately impacted by this pandemic. We're seeing, RBC came out with a report recently that 1/3 of women in the workforce are considering leaving their jobs right now. So that is of great concern. And certainly we see with women entrepreneurs, One, a lot of women entrepreneurs are smaller businesses. So to begin with, don't have that extra sort of buffer when pandemics like this hit. They're also often represented in sectors that have been hardest hit, like tourism and the service sector. And then the third point is a lot of entrepreneurs, and in Canada, 24% of entrepreneurs have children at home under the age of 18. So that increased care responsibilities that have occurred over the last almost 12 months have also had an impact on women entrepreneurs, right? Who are juggling, their business as well as these increased care responsibilities. So we're seeing a shift. Now, on a positive note, we are also starting to see slowly more businesses emerge, new businesses emerge. And that's an exciting opportunity, right? As the economy shifts to recovery, to see some new entrepreneurs looking at new opportunities.
How does a prospective entrepreneur woman or group of women get a hold of you or get a hold of your organization to start this process?
Yeah, absolutely. Women's Enterprise, our website is womensenterprise.ca. We love supporting women entrepreneurs and helping them to realize their business dreams, and really do take that holistic approach to make sure that each entrepreneur receives the support she needs to grow and thrive.
Great. Well, you're the right person to do this, Jill, because of your experience, because of your reputation in BC. And thank you for doing that. And thank you for being a great encourager for women in this province. Appreciate it very much. And thanks for being with me this morning.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.